What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Lineup Card Show. Ready to talk through an 11-gamer. A lot of stuff going on the slate. It's a really interesting slate that we're going to talk about tonight. But for starters, hat tip to Mr. Adrian Hauser for showing us up last night with a pretty decent start. Wasn't entirely 100% totally necessary to have that lineup for success last night, but it certainly helped to have that performance in your lineup. So hat tip to him. Definitely got us on that one. Wasn't the best night overall for some of the things we talked about on the show. Hit on some stuff, missed on some other stuff as usual, but back at it today, ready to grind through what definitely looks like an interesting slate. I think the pitching it's kind of weird today. There's a decent high end and there's a decent middle, but it dies at kind of a high price, and then there's not like a lot of real strong extreme value type plays today on a fairly deep slate. 11 games, you would think there would be more depth to it. We've got some interesting lineups. A lot of lineups are in. Some interesting changes, Yankees and some of those other ones. So we'll talk through all of those things, but let's say hi to everybody first. Let's see who's here. Who was here first? Podegen Stoner was here first. Breaking the reputation for stoners everywhere and getting here early. Well done, Podegen Stoner. Lone Wolf's here. Calvin's here. Shannon. Larry's here. Phil Still. Benny Levine. Mamba's here. I think that's everybody so far that said hello in the chat. But welcome to everybody who hasn't said hello in the chat. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Anybody doing anything extremely fun this weekend? Dimitri's here. Dimitri says, let's get one tonight. I agree. Let's go get one tonight. Everybody wins tonight. I like that approach. Or at least let's get a nice little just train of lineups down the top of standings on both sides. That'd be great. I'll be going to the Yankees game tomorrow. We'll work a show in there somewhere. Not sure exactly what the schedule looks like yet, but we'll get that figured out. Sunday, not going to the game now. The one that we were maybe going to with my uncle, he's still not going to make it into town yet. So he sold those tickets. I was going to maybe go, but then I was like, I can't. My friends are all married, kids, all that stuff. They need more than 2 days notice these days to be able to free up on a Sunday and go to a Yankee game. So just told them to flip the tickets. So it'll be probably a quiet Sunday. Anybody doing anything crazy fun over the weekend? Not a lot going on. Not over here anyway. Bobby Edie. What's going on? Shannon's doing gummies, booze, and swimming pool. That sounds about right. Could definitely get into a plan like that. Gummies, I think I've talked about it on the show. Gummies, edibles have never... They hit me. They don't hit me as hard as, I guess, as it seems like they hit other people. For whatever reason. Most edibles have never really hit me that hard. Which sucks. But the booze... The pot, the swimming pool, all that part sounds good. Wish we had a swimming pool here. Got a tiny backyard in the building, which is great for Joker. It's always been handy just to be able to, let him out. He can go out there and hang out for a while. He can go out and do his thing. But I've always thought about, wouldn't it be cool to just pop a above ground pool back there? Don't tell the landlord or anything. Just drop a full size above ground pool back there. Would make for a fun summer. Yo, Trey's in the chat. What's up, Trey? Benny needs 5,000 milligrams to get loose. That sounds like a lot. I'm pretty sure. Love it. Shannon says MLB looks crazy tonight. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Greg Biancone says need to go in the ocean if possible. I have not been in the ocean this year that I can remember. Not this summer. It hasn't been a beachy kind of summer for me. I've been mostly here talking baseball, hanging out with you guys, and doing things from Jersey City and everything. I don't think I've been in the water. Yeah, especially coming off Shark Week. And I watched Jaws. 1 and 2 were on last night. Just because after the show and after lock and everything, I had dinner. And then I was sitting around. And the thought ran through my head. I went, you know what? I haven't actually seen Jaws on TV this summer. That's weird to get this deep into the summer. And you don't run across a Jaws marathon or Jaws on cable or whatever. And it's one of my top several all-time favorite movies. And I'm flipping through the guide, and all of a sudden it was just like, bang, it's on. It was on right then, so I obviously had to flip to it. And then they were doing it was a 1, 2, and 4 marathon. So I watched all of 1. I flipped around while 2 was on, went back and forth, and I did not watch 4 because 4 is just god awful. Shannon plugging the Meg 2 in the theaters. I think it's in theaters today. If you haven't seen the Meg 1, it's a lot of fun. I think we actually talked about it on a show fairly recently, didn't we? I think it came up somewhere along the way. It was a fun movie. It would have been more fun if they had made the rated R cut, I think. It looks like they went a little further with this new one, so it'll probably be fun. Anytime you get Jason Statham, punching a shark in the face, it's like, how bad could that be? Benny's a marine biologist. I'm not sure if he's quoting a Seinfeld episode or if he's actually a marine biologist. Plankton, that sort of stuff. Jaws 1 is awesome. Yeah, Jaws is an all-time great movie. Just full stop, not like monster movie. Some people call it a horror movie. I definitely don't think that's a good categorization. It's just an amazing film. It's one of Spielberg's best. This was like his big breakout. Dan, yeah, Jaws 3 is the one at SeaWorld with Lou Gossett Jr. And one of those guys is supposed to be the son of Chief Brody. I think one of the sons, spoiler alert for Jaws 3, which came out in 1983. I think one of the sons gets eaten in the beginning, right? And then the other one works at SeaWorld. And then in the beginning of the fourth one, I think he gets eaten. And then the mom moves to the Bahamas and the shark follows her to the Bahamas. And then they kill it with the boat. They smash the, Does anybody remember the Jaws Nintendo game? Did any of you guys play that? Like old school Nintendo, like 8-bit Nintendo. The Jaws game was ridiculous. It was so hard. There were all these fun diving expedition parts that had no real relevance to anything in the Jaws movies. But then you would cut to these parts where you had to kill the shark with the front of the boat, like in Jaws 4, and it was just brutally difficult and just stupid. Shannon loves Seinfeld reruns and 2.5 Men. I'm with you on Seinfeld. Classic show. One of the, that was on while I was growing up. That was every Thursday night, the new one was on. So it was, that's right in my wheelhouse. I wasn't a 2.5 Men fan, though. I don't love Chuck Lorre shows. I do think, before he went nuts anyway, Charlie Sheen was funny. And, what's his face? Jonathan Cryer is pretty good. The Kid's a nut. He went a little haywire there, too. And then, what's his face is actually pretty good. Ashton Kutcher, when he came on, he's actually pretty good. But I've only seen handfuls of those in reruns of 2.5 Men. Wasn't my show. Larry just finished How I Met Your Mother on Hulu. Started doing Seinfeld on Netflix. I've watched How I Met Your Mother. That's a good one. That one was fun. A lot of funny people involved. Definitely Seinfeld is better though. So let's talk a little baseball here, gang. James Sarcone says Brody's young son just died of brain cancer the other day. Oh, that's right. I saw that in the news. I forgot. I didn't even think of that last night when I was watching it. Yeah, the kid who played him in Jaws 2. Or I'm not sure. Was he in Jaws? Was he in the first one too? I don't know if it was the same kid or not. But yeah, I saw that he young, 50, young 50s somewhere, young. Anyway, Benny Levine says he's over the field, way over the field on Robert Shaw. All right, last thing about Jaws, there's actually a play that they're advertising that's coming to Broadway. It's called The Shark is Broken, and it's Robert Shaw's son playing him in the movie. So the play is about the making of the movie, and it's somebody playing him, somebody playing Dreyfuss, and somebody playing Roy Scheider. And it's just them, as they're making the movie or whatever, just bullshitting or talking about how tough and ridiculous it is. But the point is, his kid done up to look like him in the thing looks exactly the hell like him. It's amazing. Dead ringer. The other two guys don't really look like Roy Scheider or Richard Dreyfuss really at all. But his son is a dead ringer for him. I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, they brought him back from the dead to play this role. Shannon thinks Dean Kramer looks interesting. The Mets have clearly quit. I think that's an interesting point to jump in on for sure. Why don't we talk a little baseball? Astros and the Yankees are up first before we get to that Met game. I think that's the second one on deck. But we can start up by scrolling over to the pitching board because like I was saying, we've got a good top end here. And I like the pricing on all of these guys. Nola included on both sites, really. Merrill Kelly on the DK slate. Like, all of the top-end pitchers, to me, have pretty decent value numbers. Not that these are extremely low, easy to combine with anything that you want type value numbers. And what I think is interesting about this slate is, like, the quality line is, like, here around Bobby Miller. Luzardo's down here, I'm sorry. But Luzardo's at a fairly high price. But the point was going to be, you're getting into pretty stretchy kind of plays when you're looking at some of these really low price guys. Like, Dean Kramer is certainly viable. This is a playable projection for 89.72. But once you get down into like any of these green, like low cost guys, the super discount guys, like Quinn Priester against Milwaukee, that is in no way safe. He has not been good yet. David Peterson's actually probably over projected here because he's only going to pitch a handful of innings. He's not fully stretched out. Everybody down here, Severino is not at all safe. I'm actually targeting Houston bats against Severino. Clevy's not safe. Colin Ray, I'm targeting with Pittsburgh bats. Waino, Lyle, like there is not a lot in the extreme value pool. Not a lot below like the $7,000 line. 7,500 really. 72 maybe for Kramer is the best low-cost guy on the DK slate. So I think a lot of people are going to lead into plays like Dean Kramer, for one. He's worthwhile. We'll talk about him in a sec. But I think it's a very stark pitching board in that. So you're going to have a lot of leans into like value plays at the plate that help you pay for combinations of some of these pitchers on DK, where a lot of people are either going to go extreme dart throws, a lot of weight on like Dean Kramer, or they're combining a couple of like, you know, these higher end prices and they're more limited in what they can do at the plate. So I think it's just worth exploring what you can get to by playing some of these alternative guys and trying to see what kind of holes you can poke in like the slate's ownership by doing different things like pairing like a two of the lower cost guys from up here, like a Logan Allen, Bobby Miller pairing in a weird example. Could certainly buy you an upgrade at a couple of bats that makes a difference on a slate where a lot of these guys could come out the same. A lot of these guys are, are priced appropriately, but there's not that good value range. So I think it's a really interesting board from that perspective. Anyway, we can get into this one now. Hunter Brown got a bump from the lack of an Aaron Judge in the Yankees lineup. So I really like the spot for Hunter Brown, 8,400, 9,200. As I mentioned the last time with him, it's just easy to forget that he's a rookie. He broke camp with the team. He's been outstanding across the board for most of the season. So, that just means this is in the full thing, whatever game is selected, whatever game's up over here, it's just those two pitchers, right? So it's Severino and Hunter Brown. So like if I changed it to the Mets game, it would highlight Peterson and Dean Kramer. It's just to highlight which guys are selected in the game that's displayed over here. Nothing important. So, so Brown's been really good, 8,400, 9,200. I do think that's a very good price to get him at on DK. It's a pretty good price on FanDuel. He obviously projects very well. 27% strikeout rate, 4.12 ERA, and a 3.27 xFIP is an outstanding xFIP. Puts a few too many guys on base, like for opportunities with a 1.30 whip. A little of that is through the 7.9% walk rate, a little bit of BABIP against, a little bit of premium contact, but it hasn't burnt him because he keeps the ball down. So 8.8% barrels, 44.1% hard hits, 90.5 miles an hour of exit velo, but only a 5.7 degree average launch angle. So on the whole, he's pretty adept at keeping the ball down. He's basically got to get around Giancarlo Stanton and then like arguably the two lefties, Jake Bauers and Billy McKinney in this lineup. And then you're really not dealing with a lot of challenging hitters here. For a kid with a premium strikeout rate, he's, Volpe's super gettable with the 28.3% strikeout rate late in the lineup if you're worried about him in terms of like a home run hitter. Higgy, 28.5%, makes good contact when he connects, but 28.5% strikeouts and doesn't really have any results to show for good contact. Bader's a flawed player, doesn't strike out much, puts the ball in play, but not overly consistent. DJ's having a terrible year. Stanton isn't consistent at all, strikes out a ton. Jake Bauers strikes out over 30%. So, I mean, we're certainly not worried about IKF at the top of the lineup despite the lack of strikeouts. So, I mean, I think it's just a killer spot for Hunter Brown. Really, the biggest problem for Hunter Brown is the ballpark, to be honest. I mean, like, you could just get those stupid Yankee Stadium home runs. There's also a little bit of weather in the area. It seemed all day long here like it's again, Jersey City, I'm 5 10 miles from Yankee Stadium as the crow flies. It definitely seemed like it's going to rain all day long. It's supposed to be like a passing thing. They're saying later in the ball game should be able to play. So I'm not really concerned about the weather. I don't think it'll really impact Hunter Brown here. I do think that it's reading on my screen here is 86, but it feels a lot cooler than that out. I thought I saw 70s earlier. So maybe not exactly the kind of night where the ball just flies out of Yankee Stadium for everybody who makes any kind of contact whatsoever. So just again, and he keeps the ball down anyway. So just really good spot for Hunter Brown. Sevy, I really want no part of. 6,500 on DK, 7,200 on FanDuel. There was rumors they were going to shut him down for this season, just as recently as the beginning of this week. And they went through the trade deadline, didn't actually bring anybody in or do anything interesting, so he's just here getting this start now. I really don't see it. He's sitting at a 7.49 ERA, a 5.06 xFIP, an 18% strikeout rate, a 1.84 whip. He's allowed a 5.40% home run rate on 10.9% barrels, 46% hard hits. It just doesn't make sense to me to throw this version of this pitcher. We haven't seen him good all season, really. To throw him into this lineup that's projecting really well, that's showing a good amount of power up and down with only Jordan Alvarez over the magic number. But I mean, Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Jainer Diaz, and Chas McCormick all effectively at it, right? 8 plus is just as good as 10. I mean, we're nitpicking if we're really deciding the difference between that and my home run model. So just major home run opportunities for the Astros. I love the spot for Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, the two lefties. Major power upside for those two guys here. Alvarez was my overall home run pick for the day. I'm sure he's going to be popular, but sometimes you need a layup. I think he's going to get one. I think he's got upside beyond that. He got a bump from moving. That was when he was hitting fifth, so he got a bump because he's hitting third. Just a killer spot for the Astros. Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Tucker, Jainer Diaz, all five of those guys, plus Chas McCormick from the bottom. Those guys are your priorities. For me, I would say these four and the four top hitters and McCormick over Jainer Diaz. But Diaz is very good. Slots into catcher at 3,800, 2,800 on FanDuel if you want him. Hitting fifth, he's got tons of value there. Like, don't worry that you don't need catchers on FanDuel when you're talking about a kid who's hitting fifth, hitting 274, 293, 509 with a 235 ISO, 13 homers in Yankee Stadium. He's right-handed, but that righties also play well for power in Yankee Stadium. Jose Abreu kind of pulled himself together a little bit, 81 WRC plus, 10 home runs, capable enough, 3,600, 2,800. He's discounted. He's in the same spot as everybody else against a scuffling Severino. Pena and Jake Myers, bolt-ons from the bottom, but really major opportunity for these four guys. Really like this guy down here. This guy's quite good. The other three, like these three non-highlighted guys, you take or leave, you mix and match through stacks. But the highlighted guys I want to have a lot of. They're difficult to build into things, like even them with one of the best value stacks on the board, getting to a quality pitcher on the FanDuel build that I put together that does have Astros in my placeholder was pretty difficult. I had to change some things up from what I originally put together. I was surprised because like when I went to that, all right, I need like an $8,500 pitcher, there wasn't one. Right. So like I talked about, it does have depth, but there's a lot of depth at the very top for expensive guys. And then it's like cuts off. So it was really interesting just seeing how that comes together in lineups. I'm not sure the impact that's going to have on my overall pool when I start building lineups. It might lead me to deliberately leave in a guy who's at a cheaper price, who even if I don't believe in him, doesn't project great. I just want to have that spot. So Luis Severino, though, not that guy for me. I mean, this is 6,500, 7,200. If you wanted it for 23 FanDuel points in the median projection here, like it's all right projection wise, but the model isn't fully caught up to how bad he's been on the season. Or it is, that's included in the stats that it knows about at this point. Like everything's basically in there now, but there's enough track record also still in there that it limits the degree to which his projection is going to be fully downgraded here. What I'm trying to say is the current year version of Severino is probably worse than this projection. So I really don't believe in it. I won't be going to it. I'm going to load up on some Astros bats. Minor interest in Yankees. Again, it's Jake Bauers, it's Billy McKinney. Gleyber Torres and Stanton are fine. And then bolt-on parts the rest of the way. Any one of these three guys I like better than IKF as a bolt-on, but IKF does make sense because he's leading off. He's got direct correlation with these guys. Cheap in the outfield on DK, 3 positions on FanDuel for $2,700. He's just not good. So that one is Hunter Brown, Astros, both firmly at the top. Call that a tie in my esteem. I like both spots for the visiting Houston team. And then like Yankees way down here and Luis Severino kind of off the board for me. Mets have a very interesting top end. So that's part of the Dean Kramer conversation, I think, here. They do have Brandon Nimmo back. They do have Starling Marte back. And they've got the version of the lineup with Francisco Alvarez hitting second, which I love. So this top end is very, very good. Nimmo, Alvarez, Lindor, and Alonso is a killer group of hitters. A lot of power in that group. Some very good on-base skills with Nimmo in that group. He's also got power. Is very good at getting himself to first base to set the table for the 3 power hitters. You're running Dean Kramer into a lot there for a kid with a 10% barrel rate, 44% hard hits, 4.51% home runs. To throw him into that buzzsaw of power right there at the top of the lineup is a little bit dicey. I do think he's got talent. I do think he's got upside, especially at the DK price, $7,200. That's just a necessary price. But like we talked about when I was showing the pitching board a second ago, I think a lot of people are going to go there because he's the clear-cut best of the group that is priced that way today. So I think he's going to get a lot of that value pitching popularity, and it might just take him, not off the board, obviously, but it might make him less valuable than he may seem. And it certainly cuts into the upside. At $8,900 on FanDuel, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, just given other good pitchers in that range. He doesn't project, like he projects similarly to where Severino was, right? So, I mean, that says it all right there. 4.51% home run rate is really the focus. Giving up a lot of premium contact, a lot of power into a Mets team that, if nothing else, even with some downgrades recently, has a lot of power in it. The only real soft spot in that lineup is Rafael Ortega hitting 9th. 2,000 on both sites in the outfield if you want him. But Mark Vientos is a premium prospect for power. He's got 2 home runs in 84 plate appearances, but he's a masher. 12.3% barrels, 54.4% hard hits. Even as he struggles to find his form at this level, he's making very good contact when he makes contact. Brett Beatty's a premium rookie. Starling Marte's got speed and the idea of mid-level power. 254, 308, 332. He's really scuffling through the first part of the season. He's been MIA the last few weeks, but he does have 24 steals. Can reset the table for Beatty, for Vientos. McNeil, take him or leave him. He's a 89 WRC plus. He's hitting 5th, so I think you do need him. He's very cheap, second base and outfield eligible, so I think you do need him in Met stacks. But he's a unlucky this year slap hitter. 253, 327, 327. Needs to get to first base 3 times to provide value in a lineup, basically every day. Podigen Stoner says maybe Domino's Pizza Sativa slate with some hybrid edibles. Is Domino's Pizza a brand of sativa that you're referring to, or are you saying you want to smoke some sativa and get some Domino's Pizza? Is there no better pizza than Domino's out there in whatever you call it, Colorado? Garden City, Colorado? I had to scroll up for that one. Even though you said it like every day that we've had a show. I should know it by now that it's Garden City, Colorado. I'll probably remember it from now on, but I had to scroll up right there. I hope that's the brand of the strain of sativa that you're referring to, and you're not planning on getting Domino's. Do you guys eat Domino's? Who out there eats Domino's? All right, if it's a discount thing, then I can get behind it. It's that is true. We do have to take that into account, and you do live in Colorado, where I'm sure it's difficult to get good pizza. Basically anywhere that's more than like 25 miles outside a radius of New York City, maybe Chicago, Detroit for their like little square, like weird funky style pizzas is pretty good. But like if you're far outside of a major city and on the East Coast, you're probably not getting great pizza. Domino's is not real pizza. I agree with that, Trey. Neither is Pizza Hut. Neither is Papa John's. Basically any of the franchises. I'm in PA, Italian, and NY joints everywhere. Yeah, Trey, there's definitely a lot of good pop-up Italian ones through Jersey, through Pennsylvania, up into Connecticut. Connecticut's actually got really good pizza in like that New Haven style pizza. That's actually really good. couple good joints through there. Larry C says Sbarros. Podigen says Brooklyn style. Is that the Domino's Brooklyn style? The one that's just like actually like kind of a real pizza, not that like typical Domino's like thick airy thing. Yeah. Yeah. Come this way sometime. Let us know when you're on the East Coast. We'll take you for real Brooklyn style pizza. Believe it or not, Domino's has decent hot wings. I do remember their wings being good back in the day. We used to get it like all the time in college. Domino's was actually you guys probably had the same thing when you went to college. You had like the meal card with your meal plan, use it in the cafeteria or whatever. So our Domino's was tied into that, but like back then you couldn't there was no like number to give them off the card or anything like that. So it is like late 90s, early 2000s, right? So literally we would call up Domino's and we'd be like, hello, my social security number is blah, 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 blah. I'd like to order 2 medium pizzas and a thing of wings, please. We're really stoned and in our dorm room. Send it on over. And it's like, you would just give these people your social security number, like over the phone in exchange for pizza. It's a really weird setup, but it was tied in directly to our meal plan. So it was like the go-to. There was a few chain things and like some Chinese food and stuff like that in the town, but it was like our go-to was Domino's back then. So I've definitely eaten my fair share of Domino's. Don't get me wrong. New Heaven Pizza is underrated, Eric B. I agree with that. A couple good spots up there. I can't remember the name of the one, the famous one that's like off of I-95 that's like easy to go to. But I'm sure you probably have been there or know the one I'm talking about. All right. Let's get back into this a little bit here. So Kramer is definitely on the board for value on DK. A little bit difficult to get to justify given the popularity that he's probably going to pull, the home run issues, but definitely on the board because there's not a lot in that price range. David Peterson on the other side would definitely be a good value option, but I think this projection's a little high. I forgot to lower his pitch count because he's been pitching out of the bullpen for a while now. He was really bad to start the season, went down, came back, was okay, went to the bullpen. Overall, 24.4% strikeouts, 3.23% home run rate on 7.1% barrels, 44.3% hard hits, so a little bit of premium contact. He's a good lefty. He struck out 27.8 in 19 starts last year, 24% 2 years ago, but he's only going like 60 or 70, 3-4 innings. I think tops. It would be a surprise to see him get more than that. He's just not fully stretched out right now. So like he was, and then he wasn't, and then he was, and now he's kind of not again. So maybe he gets to 5, but I think 5 is a real stretch for him here. And you're still dealing with a good Orioles lineup on the other side. They're letting Gunnar hit third despite the lefty, which I love. Just give him the opportunities. I'm sure he'll pull it together. We saw him hit the home run the other day, have a good game against Hyunjin Ryu. So I like the upside for Gunnar hitting third in that lineup. I love Mountcastle hitting second. 3,800, 3,400. That's way too cheap for Mountcastle on DK. 14.2% barrels, 47.8% hard hits, 13 homers in 319 plate appearances. That is a killer power hitter for only 3,800 at first base. If he was 300, he should be 100% on. Top of the board, Adley Rutschman, one of the top catcher plays, picks up plate appearances just by hitting leadoff, gets himself to first base all the time. Great correlated scoring option, great individual power. Just really good behind the plate. So one of the top catcher options, 5,100, 3,300 on FanDuel. You can play him on both sites. Austin Hayes hitting cleanup. Ryan O'Hearn in the lineup, the lefty. So they're really not fearing the lefty. They're seeing this as a pretty short outing for David Peterson would be my read there. Jordan Westberg, Ramon Urias, playable parts on the right side, both multi-position eligible, second and third on DK. Shortstop in third and third base, second base, first base on FanDuel. Very cheap prices. Westberg's a premium prospect who came up. He's been okay. 97 WRC plus in 90 plate appearances, 262, 311, 405, 143 ISO, a homer, 2 steals. He's been all right. 48.4% hard hits is very good. So you focus on that a little bit. You focus on the low pricing and just the general pedigree, plus the multi-position eligibility. Urias, we've seen hit surprising amount of home runs, 250, 321, 377, 4 on the board this year in 280 plate appearances, but 16 and 445 last year, 7 and 296 the year before. So a sneaky source of power late in that lineup, who's always cheap in that lineup. Triple position eligible on the FanDuel slate. McKenna kind of miscast guys down the bottom of the lineup. McCann, not really the guy he was against lefties a couple years ago, but does have a little bit of upside. He got involved the other day. I forget exactly what he did, but I think I saw him double. He might have been the one that doubled, but it was a wonky defensive play now that I'm thinking about it in the game that I was watching. But anyway, McCann's on the board as a cheap secondary catcher, but you're not going to go to him all that many times instead of Adley Rutschman where you need catchers, and there are better options for 2,200 on the FanDuel slate, so he's only loosely on the board. McKenna, 253, 307, 374, 88 WRC+, just kind of a mix-in at the bottom of the lineup. So it's yes to Dean Kramer on the DK slate, but be wary of what his ownership is. Make sure to check out his ownership. If somebody wants to drop it in the chat, we can talk about it without giving away the numbers, or you guys can talk about the numbers or whatever. But I haven't seen ownership on him. I suspect that he's going to get popular on DK at that price just by virtue of being the best option at that price. Peterson's a no-go, just on the lack of innings, which sucks because otherwise he'd be an option here. I'm going to say probably Orioles bats, then Mets bats, but it's pretty close. How did that rank out on the board? Oh, the Orioles ranked really weird on the board because these bottom guys were projecting so strangely. Westberg, Urias, McKenna, and McCann all project really low just based on how the model works. So the Orioles are actually, I put a note actually because of how they were projecting on the stacks board. I think the opportunity is better for the Orioles given the short start for Peterson, given the strong top end of the Orioles board. So I did note that on the stacks board today. They rank out a little strange. There's a couple of weird spots on the way things come together today. Mets in the middle of the board. Okay spot for value. Okay spot for home run upside. And with the reconfigured lineup, I actually really like that top end. KC and Philly. 2.2% on FanDuel. That's for Kramer, the pitcher. Yeah, the DK number is the important one. FanDuel, I didn't expect him to be on 5% on DK. Surprising. I bet he pushes a little higher than that just based on optimizer lineups. Unless people are just going to that top end and forgoing value on the mound, which could be. Yeah, appreciate that, Chuck. I guess I did give away the number. I wasn't going to say it. But we didn't say which site's number that is, so let's not say that. Then maybe it's just Chuck speculating. Benny Levine says, this one place here advertises Denver-style crust. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Unless it's like a sprinkling of like weed. It's made with like cannabis butter or whatever. That would be Denver-style. Denver-style crust I've never heard of. Chuck says that's exactly what it is. Trying to catch up on what this Denver crust thing might be. Well, that sounds delicious if it's made with a sprinkling of weed or cannabis butter or whatever. Otherwise, I'm just picturing like the white bread of pizza crusts, basically. Wonder Bread. That's what I think when I think Denver. Braves are the first to 70 wins, a 7-run fourth inning backs Max Fried's brilliant return. 6 innings for Max, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 8 strikeouts. Whew. Against the Cubbies, too. Good start for Max. All right, let's get into this one. Lone Wolf going Detmers, Kramer, load up on bats. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I do think it pays to put together 2 of those guys from the mid-range, the value range on the DK slate and just get creative with those bats, just given the way that the pitcher pricing falls today. I'm skeptical about the Detmer spot, though. The model doesn't love it. I was surprised. I thought that was going to be a good spot, given how he's pitched for strikeouts and the strikeout upside available in that matchup. But the model kind of has him low end, so I do think he could get there. But I was wrestling with that one today. I didn't make any changes to it. I left it alone. We'll get there in a little bit. But yeah, that's a spot. It's not for reason, not for Adrian Hauser reasons where it's a pitcher that I just don't think is that good. I actually think Detmers is pretty good. Just how the model's seeing it. I'm kind of just siding with the model today, so we'll get there. Aaron Nola on the bump going against the Royals. This is like a premium spot. Nola's not really been himself overall this season. 4.43 ERA, a 3.82 xFIP, a 5.9% walk rate, 24.7% strikeouts. All of those are perfectly fine. Those are all, very capable numbers. He's given up a few too many home runs, 8.2% barrels, 4.27% home runs overall. But like the lack of walks, a decent whip still, 12.1% swing, a 30.2% CSW, 25% strikeouts. It's down from 29 each of the last two seasons. The walks are up, but that's only because the walks were at 3.6% last year. The ERA is up from 3.25 to 4.43. The xFIP from 2.77. So he's gone from being like outrageously good last year to just, a good effective pitcher this year. He's priced down on FanDuel at 99. 10,000 on DK is a great price for Aaron Nola against this Royals team. They're just so non-threatening. I think it's a perfectly good spot to go to Aaron Nola here. He pitches deep into games. 138 innings and 22 starts. Like, he's just, regardless of how things have been going, he's just booking innings anyway. So even if he gives up a few runs, hits a few bumps in the road, he tends to clean it up with some innings pitched and with just booking some extra strikeouts by working deep into the game. 23.3% strikeout rate for the opposing lineup. There's no real challenges in here. Bobby Witt's very good. Sal Perez is a good power hitter, but he's scuffled this year. Everybody else in the lineup basically sucks. I know they come through from time to time, but this is not a good team, not a good lineup, not a high scoring bunch. They have a collective 300 on base percentage. They have a collective 249 batting average. The entire lineup combines for 78 home runs, which if you grab like any, 3 hitters from the Braves lineup, that would be an equivalent home run total. 2 guys in the lineup creating runs above average. One of them is Freddie Freeman in 146 plate appearances. They're just bad. I do think if you wanted to grab a few shares of Bobby Witt, Sal Perez, maybe Mike Massey, Michael Garcia, maybe MJ Melendez if you believe in the power. I believe that the power will eventually arrive. I just don't know if it'll be this season for MJ. We've talked a bunch of times about the contact profile, but the lack of actual stats for hitting the ball as well as he does when he connects. High strikeout guy. So really flawed option there. And there's just a lot of meh in that lineup. So it's really a couple of these guys from the top in a couple of stacks, and that's it. Definitely enthusiastic about the Aaron Nola spot. I'll have a lot. 9,900, I suspect he's going to be very, very popular on FanDuel. I don't really care. I'll just book that option. I'll have a lot of some of the mix of quality on FanDuel, but for getting him at that price, I'll definitely have my fair share. Phillies bats, I think you can fire away with their bats against Jordan Lyles here. One of the more highly totaled teams on the board, 5.89 implied total, 240 minus 242 favorites, just the biggest favorite by a wide margin on the board going up against Lyles here. Nothing but contact, nothing but premium contact, no strikeouts to speak of, a 6.15 ERA, a 5.36 xFIP. There's tons of power in the Phillies lineup, reconfigured with Trey Turner hitting 8th now. Alec Boehm up to the 2nd spot. That's a really interesting spot for Alec Boehm. 4,000, 3,300 eligibility at first and third base. 290, 343, 425, creating runs 8% better than average. 10 home runs on the season. Mostly from the bottom of the lineup over his 396 plate appearances. Good hitter. Former first-round pick for them. Just a kid who's done really well and earned that promotion to the top spot since Turner's been struggling so bad. They moved him all the way down to 8th. I was thinking maybe they slot him in like 5th and let Bryson Stott hit at the bottom of the lineup, but Stott's been better than Turner this year too. 301, 343, 430 for him, 8% better than average creating runs compared to Turner for more DFS wise at 235, 290, 368, 76 WRC plus. 21 steals is good, 10 home runs is okay, but he's been really, really struggling this year. Apparently they're planning a standing ovation for him at the ballpark tonight. Feel like social media, the fans are getting together. And I don't know if it's a sarcastic standing ovation or if it's like a, hey, let's get behind him and show him we love him standing ovation. Not sure what it is, but Trey needs a kick in the ass. Brandon Marsh has been really good at the bottom of the lineup. 121 WRC plus actually leads this team over 355 plate appearances. Again, another guy who's gotten most of that done from the bottom of the lineup. So I like Marsh hiding down here at 2,900, 2,700. Not a ton of power, but a 179 ISO, 8 home runs in 355. Okay amount of power for a lefty going up against Jordan Lyles. Harper, Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, those guys are fairly obvious, right? 16.86 for Schwarber in the home run model. That's a massive number. Only costs $4,600 on DK. 38 basically full price on FanDuel, but definitely discounted on DK. Harper's perfectly fine to go to. A little bit of a lack of power since his return. but still creating runs 17% better than average. Still been very, very good. Nicky Castellanos, still cheap. He's come down a little bit overall, but a decent home run mark, 15 on the year, still above average for creating runs. Okay, triple slash. This has come down. This was up over 300 earlier in the season, but still a decent contact profile and never got to a high price. He's just maintained this price. I guess the sites were correct in keeping him there, but still producing around this level cost-wise. And like stats playable, JT Realmuto is one of the best catchers in baseball for DFS purposes. A lot of good reasons to go to Phillies today. So this one would be Aaron Nola, Phillies lineup, very close and very highly ranked for both. Not that much interest in the Royals and no interest whatsoever in Jordan Lyles. That one also had a little bit of rain potentially coming through. But it seemed like it was going to be all right. I think it was like late night, later evening rain coming through. Same with this one, I think. Last I saw, this one had a little bit of rain in the area, but was supposed to play as well. So the Red Sox were another weird little note in today's model. Alek Manoah, based on what he's done in years past in terms of limiting home runs, he's quite good at it in years past. 2.04% home runs last year, 2.61% the year before on 31.2% hard hits in 21 on 5.8% barrels. Last year, 31.5% hard hits, 5.4% barrels. Had been very good previously at limiting premium contact across the board. No hard hits, no barrels turn into no home runs. This year, that's completely fallen apart. 9.6% barrels on 3.52% home run rate, 43.5% hard hits. There's a lot of premium contact available with scuffling Alek Manoah. The warning there is that it's not entirely showing properly, I don't think, through the home run model here today, just based on all that excellence at limiting home runs in previous seasons. If he comes out and he's that guy today, then it maybe limits the Red Sox a little bit, but I still think they're good enough at sequencing. He's not striking anybody out. I think they have plenty of upside even if they're not hitting a ton of home runs against him, and I think they have additional upside for home runs beyond what we're seeing here. So definitely seems like a key spot for the Red Sox here. Greg Biancone asks, speaking of Vegas odds, do you include anything in your process to find a way to get those 6 points for the win on FanDuel? Seems important. I don't really push things for like I think this team's more likely to win, so I want to get to that pitcher who is only carrying an okay projection. Like most of the time, the guys who are most likely booking that win bonus are already the highly projected guys, just without including the bonuses. So I think you can, if you wanted to get into that, press a lever on guys who are like more likely to book 5 innings for you on a good team that's highly favored, if you want to start slanting things that way. For me, I've always just treated it as most of the highly projected guys are on the teams that are most likely to get them the win bonus anyway. They've got to pitch the 5 innings to get the win bonus. Quality starts wise on FanDuel as well with the 6 innings. It's the same concept because those guys who are getting to the 5+ inning projections are already the best projected guys on the slate. So they're just going to get that anyway. So it's never something I've really felt the need to press, but it could be worthwhile if you're finding that you're not getting the right guys in terms of booking wins, booking quality starts, then yeah, it might be something to look into. I just bit the front of my tongue. So Manoah's a no-go for me. Obviously doesn't project well here. That's a full projection too. That's not like limited innings. 6,600, 7,200, 18.4% strikeouts on the season, a 5.87 ERA, a 6.04 xFIP, a 1.79 WHIP, walking 14.6% over 76 2/3. No strikeouts to speak of. That is just a tragically bad season for Alek Manoah. They famously took him out of the rotation at the end of, June? Or was it for all of June? Whenever it was. He's been back came back in early July, had one okay start against the Tigers. Didn't really strike out anybody, but at least went through 6 innings. And then just, three pretty mediocre starts against the Pods, the Mariners, and the Angels. He struck out 6 in each of the last 2 games. So maybe there is a little bit of potential upside there. 3 earned runs to Seattle, just 1 to the Angels. But didn't work in deep into the games. Short outings, difficult to trust. Red Sox lineup that is very, very effective at waiting on their pitch, getting to first base. So I just think there's just way too much threat to really consider Alek Manoah a good option on either side today. Red Sox, I definitely want to get some shares of them. They project well despite the downturn in the power index. Jarren Duran, excellent from the leadoff spot. Alex Verdugo hitting second today. I like that. Throw another lefty on the fire there. Masataka Yoshida, Rafael Devers, just lefty, piling them on. No Justin Turner in the lineup today. You get the lefties up there instead of having Justin Turner there. So like swapping Verdugo into that spot, it's perfectly fine. It's a downgrade overall, but the downgrade doesn't really come till down here. And Luis Urias is at least a capable infielder, especially for the dead minimum with 3 position eligibility on FanDuel. That's a guy with a little bit of pop in his bat. 16 home runs in 472 plate appearances last year, 23 home runs in 570 the year before. Has just 68 plate appearances under his belt this year, barely got a chance. Ended up getting DFA'd out of Milwaukee and is now on the Red Sox. But 2,800 on DK, 2 positions, 2,000 on FanDuel, 3 positions. That's a good value buy down here. So it's not that bad a downgrade, taking Turner out, swapping Verdugo into the top of the lineup, and then Urias into the bottom of the lineup. I think it's effective enough. And we're targeting Alek Manoah. Again, we're just looking at this guy to put a bunch of people on, give up a long ball, give up a lot of sequencing. I think there's plenty of opportunity here. Tristan Casas, 3,700, way too cheap on DK. 3,400, about right on FanDuel. 14.6% barrels, 47.4% hard hits. Walks at a 13.9% clip against a guy with a 14.6% walk rate. 16 homers, a 225 ISO. Love Tristan Casas there. Adam Duvall and all his power. Rafael Devers, all his power. Yoshida's been the best hitter overall on the team. 305, 366, 481. Strikes out 11.8% of the time as a lefty going up against, again, this scuffling version of Alek Manoah. Definite interest in the Red Sox. Basically top to bottom. Connor Wong's a playable catcher down here. Yu Chang's a playable, swappable part in the infield. Like the Red Sox quite a bit here. James Paxton. Doesn't project great. Seems a little bit pricey. That's like a mid-board projection overall on the slate. I think he's very playable. 28.4% strikeout rate, 3.34 ERA, 3.55 xFIP, 3.19 on the home runs on 7.8% barrels. Overall, pitching pretty well. I have no real issues with any of the performance. I don't love the matchup, this ballpark, etc. But I think Paxton's at worst a playable part. I just think maybe he's a little bit pricey, especially compared to other guys in this range, particularly on FanDuel. 10-1 is just a lot, given this kind of a projection. Going up against the very capable Blue Jays lineup. They do have no Bo Bichette in the lineup. Odd version of the lineup up and down. Davis Schneider hitting 7th. Not available on either side, it doesn't look like. Paul DeJong in the lineup. Filling in at shortstop for Bo Bichette. They went and got him at the deadline. 13 homers for DeJong. Dalton Varsho, really disappointing this year, but he's got 12 homers, 12 steals. Capable bats down the bottom of the lineup. Chapman hits everything hard. Alejandro Kirk has a okay profile for 2,500. Danny Jansen has an excellent mark in the home run model at 12.97 to lead this team. Oddly. Hitting cleanup today as a cheap catcher. I think that's got some value on DK. Definitely a playable part in stacks of Blue Jays on FanDuel, too. Key hitters up top, obviously, with Whit Merrifield, George Springer, Vladdy Guerrero. All very low strikeout. Good bat on ball skills for Whit Merrifield. 21 stolen bases. Good correlated scoring option. Springer's got power and speed. Vladdy's got power. Lacks it in the statistical output this season. I mean, doesn't lack it. His 17 home runs is still good, but it's not Vladdy Guerrero good. But again, barrels are up. Hard hits are up. Year over year. Not sure how much Paxton I ended up getting to. I would get to more if I was building 150 on DK and 150 on FanDuel, in a relative sense, like knowing obviously that we have to use two pitchers on DK so the numbers are higher. I would still proportionately, I think, have more Paxton just for the $9,000 price versus the 10-1 on the FanDuel slate. I just think he's more interesting over on DK today. I'll have some on FanDuel, but probably a little bit limited. Just don't really, even this version of the Blue Jays lineup, I don't really see too much need to throw him into it. Low strikeout opportunity. I'm kind of siding with the model on this one as well. So this one for me was Red Sox bats, I think, up top. Probably Red Sox bats, Blue Jays bats, some James Paxton. No Alek Manoah for me. It would surprise me to see Manoah succeed in this spot. See what's going on in chat. Poti Jen Stoner, who's my hit for a cycle pick? Hit for the cycle pick. Nobody from this game, that's for sure. What about Jose Altuve? Off the top for the Astros. What about Jose Altuve? Just to throw another good reason to play Astros onto it. Not that we're actually calling for the cycle, but we are. Jose Altuve cycle tonight. If it happens, I called it. If it doesn't happen, I was just, we're just joking around when we make those picks. Got to be really specific. Chuck Deuces says Paxton reverse split, so that helps, but salty. Jock Market, no Henderson. Podegen locking in the Jose Altuve on Jock Market. No one from any team that sold during the deadline. All those teams have given up. Yeah, a lot of teams given up. The White Sox were really the first ones to throw up the flag. They still got a good lineup. Going up against Logan Allen, though, I'm on the Logan Allen side of this one. This is a value pitcher that I like. 79 on DK is a strong SP2 value price for him. 8,800 on FanDuel is a very good value price relative to the rest of today's slate. Projects really well. Pitching pretty well, 23.1% strikeout rate, 3.70 ERA, a 4.06 xFIP is a little higher, but negligibly so. And for a rookie in his first year, over 15 starts, I'll definitely take that as a starting point for his career. A little bit too many barrels. Exit velo, hard hits are just in range of where we, this is around the limits of where we would want them. Same with this, but 2.88% home runs. He hasn't been lousy for home runs. I think he's got a lot of upside against the White Sox here. White Sox have been scuffling overall. There's no Eloy Jimenez in the lineup today, so that's a little bit of a bump to Logan Allen as well. They don't have Jake Berger anymore. We've basically got to fade Luis Robert, to a lesser extent, Andrew Vaughn. Moncada hasn't been good this year. Timmy and Andrew haven't been good this year. Jasmani Grandal. Trace Thompson's in the lineup now. A little bit of right-handed power. Believable 8.38 for Trace Thompson. If you're looking for a cheap power guy in that White Sox lineup, I do think Trace Thompson is in play in this matchup. Very small sample of 91 plate appearances this year. He's got 5 homers on 22.9% barrels, 51.4% hard hits. There's obviously splits-based upside here. Oscar Colas has not been great at the plate this year. 216, 253, 264 with the bat in his hands. Very good in the outfield. But hasn't delivered at the plate yet, but does have lefty power. Not sure in the splits if we would really want him here, but really, he's got to get through, these two guys. Tim Anderson and Andrew Benintendi are very, very good hitters in over the course of time, but they've been bad this year. Benintendi's got his second home run of the year on the board. 11 steals for Tim, 12 for Benintendi. Luis Robert's tied them with 12 stolen bases of his own, and he's got 29 home runs. Does Luis Robert on his own have more home runs than the rest of this lineup put together? I think he does. Nope, 35. Damn. Close. 6 home runs shy of the total of the rest of that lineup. Stupid Elvis Andrus down there contributing 2 to that total. 6 stolen bases. 55 WRC plus for Elvis Andrus. 204, 280, 274. Justifying everything negative I ever said about him. Yeah, middling kind of a lineup for the White Sox at best. I don't really want to get into too many stacks. If I get a huge position of Logan Allen, I'll probably grab a couple hedge stacks around these top 5 hitters and Trace Thompson. Or maybe one of these two guys, both of these guys, probably Joel Moncada and Trace Thompson, something like that. But it's not a lot of White Sox here. Guardians, I do think we can go to quite a bit here going up against Mike Clevenger. Definite reason to go to the Guardians. They're carrying a 4.5 total, so maybe they slip under the radar a little bit. They've obviously underperformed all season. It's a funky version of the lineup as I'm looking at it. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna pull that back a little bit. I'm a little bit less interested in this version of the lineup. No Josh Naylor. Oscar Gonzalez has a little bit of pop in his bat, but hitting cleanup, I don't love that. Then Will Brennan, David Fry, Brian Rocio, Bo Naylor, Miles Straw. Yeah, this is kind of low end. Top three hitters here, plus some Oscar Gonzalez if you're going there, maybe some Bo Naylor if you're going to the Guardians. It's kind of weak. They definitely might get to Mike Clevenger here. Maybe they're on the board for a little bit of value. But you're talking about a lot of really lousy DFS options here. Brennan, a light hitter, 259, 293, a 110 ISO, 81 WRC plus in 317. David Fry, 4 homers, 2 steals, a 188 ISO. Maybe you go to some David Fry if you're building out Guardian stacks. Catcher and outfield for 25 on DK. Catcher first base on FanDuel, which is the same position, so that's stupid. 113 WRC plus for him to support the argument, but it's only 87 plate appearances. Rocio, 2100, 2000. Hasn't done much. I don't think he played last year. Let me look up Rocio. I don't really know. Yeah, hit and speed, not even speed. Like a hit tool and defense oriented prospects, according to this little profile here. He does have stolen bases though. Seems like they're underrating his speed in that prospect profile. 19 steals in AAA this year in 413 plate appearances, only 3 homers. Last year, across AA and AAA last year, like 584 plate appearances, that looks like. 18 homers, 14 steals. Call it a 158-ish ISO, putting them together. Around league average between a 114 WRC plus in AA and an 81 at AAA. Was definitely most of those numbers and most of the plate appearances came at AA. One of their higher rated prospects, according to the rankings on graphs here, but doesn't look like a major asset at the plate. Okay batting averages, some on base skills probably. Like in AAA this year, 291, 383, 417, a 105 WRC plus, a 126 ISO. Doesn't strike out a lot, walks at a decent clip. He's a hitter, but he's not really a prime DFS asset. That was Brian Rocio. If you guys lost if I lost the thread on who I was talking about there, I guess for 21,000, if you're building out Guardian stacks, he can be included. So maybe these 3 guys are a little bit okay-ish. Bo Naylor's got a little bit of pop as a cheap catcher on DK. Kind of an okay value stack, maybe. If you wanted to tell me you were going like, I would probably say Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez, and then maybe these 3 guys as a DK stack. It's cheap, if nothing else. There's a catcher in there. There's actually 2 catchers in there, so maybe you don't go that route. Maybe you only want one of the catchers. Maybe we leave Naylor out of it. And then I would probably, just for correlation's sake and just for a little bit of power upside, maybe Oscar Gonzalez for 24. Maybe something like that. Or you could just skip that and go to Stephen Kwan and look for the correlation ahead of Jimenez and Ramirez. That's probably the best way to do it. Not a great lineup. This is a bad version of this lineup. I don't think that really gives much upside to Mike Clevenger. 69 on DK, doesn't project all that well. I guess it's playable enough given the downgraded lineup if you wanted to go there on a very tight slate for value on the mound, maybe. 8,200, I don't want any part of it on FanDuel. Has not pitched well this season. 3.59 ERA, but a 5.39 xFIP, 9% walk rate, 19.3% strikeouts, 8.3% barrels. I don't really like that spot. What's his, whoops. I just want to pull up his recent run of performances to look at the depth. Yeah, 5 innings last time out against this same Guardians team. He hit them over 5 innings, struck out 3, walked 0, but that's a moderately productive start. If he gets the win there, maybe you get an okay score for the money on DK. That start doesn't have a ton of value on FanDuel. Against the Dodgers, the start before, he went 4 2/3, also allowed 0 runs, struck out 5, walked 2, faced 20 hitters, 3 hits. 5 2/3 against the Yanks, got dinged for 3 runs, struck out 2. 5 innings against Detroit, struck out 6. We're not like game log hunting for results. What I wanted to check was the depth of innings. He's gotten 6, 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times all year. All 4 of them were before May 17th. He had a string of May starts that each went 6 innings. Gave up runs in each of them. Not exactly stellar for strikeouts. Given that he went 5, no, that's back in June though. That start against the Yankees. Yeah, the only recent start is the 5 innings, 2 hit ball, 16 batters faced, 3 strikeouts against this Guardians team on July 29th. If you're chasing that start, then maybe Clevenger's got that same kind of value against this lousy Guardians lineup for 6,900 on DK. I don't think that's a usable start at 82 on FanDuel. So very low end Mike Clevenger option. So for me, this one was Logan Allen. Very little interest in either side on the bats. Kind of a hedge position maybe with White Sox. Given the downgraded version of the Guardians lineup, I don't love it, but it's moderately playable for value. And then Mike Clevenger on DK is on the board, but I don't like it. And I don't like it on FanDuel. Chuck says, whatever happened to Clevy and Trevi back in the old Cleveland team? Clevenger 15.4% strikeout rate versus left-handed hitters in 32 innings with a 6.84 xFIP. Woof. Yep. Yeah, not good. They got Quantrill, Arias, Josh Naylor for Clevenger. That's a good pickup. Not bad. Quantrill's not really been great, but Arias is interesting, and Josh Naylor's obviously been their second best player this year. All right, let's get into this one. Ken Woodhouse. I just spotted Ken Woodhouse said, Elvis Andrus, your nemesis. Totally. All right, let's keep this one rolling here. Talk through that. Handful of games to go, and it is 5:17. Jesus Luzardo, Jordan Montgomery. Luzardo projecting in the middle of the board. Another guy who, tough spot, difficult matchup, excellent pitcher, very high priced, and relative to where everybody is on the price board, I kind of just would rather probably get to some very well projected Jordan Montgomery, despite a tough matchup against the Marlins here. So it's a tricky, tough spot in terms of Luzardo shares going up against this Rangers lineup. They've been elite against left-handed pitching this year. Both of these teams very, very good against lefties this year. The Rangers lineup ranks 3rd in baseball with a 127 WRC plus collectively for the active roster. A 20.8% strikeout rate is excellent, and a 180 ISO is one of the top marks against lefties. That actually ties the ISO that the Marlins have against lefties for their active roster, and they rank 4th with a 125 WRC plus, and they only have a 20.4% strikeout rate. So I do think bats are in play on both sides of this one. I think I want to get to some Marlins. I was hoping that we would have Jazz Chisholm Jr. back in the lineup for the Marlins, but we do have Josh Bell in this lineup now, which is kind of interesting. Brian De La Cruz has had a really good season, 270, 317, 440, 106 WRC plus, 15 homers. Jake Berger's in this lineup now, 3,900, 3,200. Second and third base eligible on DK now is also interesting. You have Luis Arias to take away the second base positioning in most lineups. But if you want to pivot away from Arias shares in stacks of Marlins, Jake Berger is an excellent option to build into that second base spot. 18.9% barrels, 49.3% hard hits, 25 homers on the season, 305 ISO. I don't know that if you gave him another 300 plate appearances, he would be able to replicate this power performance. And obviously, we're talking about a guy with a 30% strikeout rate, 215, 282, 520, and doesn't really walk that much. So I think he's a very flawed hitter, but I do believe in the power against the lefty who doesn't give up a ton of home runs, but isn't a major strikeout asset. So I think there will be a few good swings for Jake Berger on the board today. Maybe he gets one, maybe he doesn't, but I think there will be a couple good shots at it. Avi Garcia, 2,400, 2,300. Once upon a time, a very stout right-handed bat against left-handed pitchers for power. Very cheap, probably going to be under-owned in the outfield, hitting 5th in this lineup. Julie Gurriel hitting 8th, hiding down the bottom of the lineup. Still a capable enough bat against the lefty, 2,900, 2,600 at first base. Doesn't project all that well. Hasn't been all that good overall, except for his batting average is okay at 272. 272, 332, 388, 97 WRC plus. Better against lefties. Top of the lineup, Luis Arias, obviously. Josh Bell, capable enough, especially for cheap prices at 3,000, 2,800. 12 homers, was underperforming on the season, but pulled himself up to league average in those last couple weeks in Cleveland. Now, arguably in a better lineup. Very cheap. Still 9.8% barrels, 42.8% hard hits. Switch hitter. I like the spot here. And then burying the league completely, Jorge Soler is just a monster against left-handed pitching. Soler has, in 95 plate appearances, a 450 ISO, a run creation mark 107% better than league average, and 11 of his 26 home runs. So that's 42.3% of his home runs this year in just 21.3% of his overall plate appearances. He is really, really good against lefties. These two guys on their own, just combined for he gets on base, he drives them in. They're very cheap, $4,700, $4,900 on DK, $3,100 for both of them on FanDuel. Just build them into a lot of stacks of Marlins. That said, I do want to have some Jordan Montgomery, $8,100, $9,500. 21.2% strikeout rate, a 4.10 xFIP, a 3.42 ERA, 10.3% swinging, doesn't get dinged for power all that often. Tough spot for him, I think. I think maybe an underratedly tough spot. So it's a both-sided situation for me, but definitely going to be on the board. And I really like Montgomery at the 8,100 on DK. One of the better overall, like better pitchers at a value, semi-value price today. Luzardo with his 28.6% strikeouts, 3.38 ERA, 3.53 xFIP, ridiculous 14.4% swinging strikes. A little bit of a contact problem, but it hasn't resulted in too many home runs. So I'm not really that worried about the contact, but the Rangers are the better of these two offenses. Just if we put it in a vacuum, I think they're better. They grade out better. Very good marks for power, given the high-end marks up at the top of the lineup here. Corey Seager back in the lineup now. We get the version of the lineup that moves Josh Young up, so he picks up a little bit of power upside on the idea of like an additional quarter of a plate appearance or whatever it equates to. He's still very cheap too, $4,700, $3,100, 21 homers on the season, 122 WRC plus, 212 ISO. This is a very, very good top five. And Mitch Garver's not really that bad an option at the catcher position, 3,400 on DK, 13.8% barrels, 48.3% hard hits, 7 homers and 147 plate appearances, just a major source of power, filling in for another major source of power at the catcher position for this team. And then Ezekiel Duran and Leody Taveras below Robbie Grossman here. Grossman's cheap, but he's been only okay this season. 87 WRC plus, 7 homers. I would take or leave Robbie Grossman here, but I would definitely include Ezekiel Duran and Leody Taveras. They've both been really productive over the course of the season. Taveras has come down a little bit in the triple slash in recent weeks, down to a 105 WRC plus, but still producing. Still a producer of counting stats, a productive enough bat for cheap prices to wrap around back up to the ridiculous top end of the lineup here. So definite yes to Ranger stacks. Semien and Seager, obvious, should be in a lot of them. Adolis Garcia should be in a lot of them. They're expensive, those 3 players, but easy enough to offset the price with all these cheap guys. Nathaniel Lowe hitting 5th. Slides down against the lefty, but still very capable bat, 4,200, 3,300. A lot of good reasons to build with Rangers up and down. Maybe Luzardo comes out and shuts them down, but given their quality against lefties, I don't know that that's a lock today. So it kind of dings Luzardo. Rangers are on the board. I'm hoping they're a little less popular maybe than they should be. He's very, very good. He could come out and blow through this team. Like, good pitching beats good hitting a lot of the times. But I think I want to take some shots. Some of the contact. All these good hitters. Fair prices. Good reasons to go to both of these lineups. So definitely a 4 corners situation here. In the article, let's see how I put it. So in the article, I put the pitchers above the hitters. I guess given how they project, I should. I kind of really want to... I'm hoping I get to low-owned bats on both sides of this, though. I will ding the Marlins for not having a Jazz Chisholm in the lineup, though. So we'll go Jordan Montgomery, Jesus Luzardo, Rangers bats, Marlins bats. 4 corners, though. I like all 4 sides. Diamondbacks, Merrill Kelly, top of the board. 8,800, 10-2, going up against the Twins and all those crazy strikeouts they provide. We got the Twins lineup. Let's see what's in it. Looks about like expected. No Byron Buxton again. Minnesota. So Kelly just pitching really well this season overall. 3.23 ERA, a 3.88 xFIP. Walking a few too many at 9.5%, but he hasn't really gotten burnt by power 8.3% barrels, 89.5 miles an hour of exit velo on a 10.3 degree angle. Only amounts to 2.56% home runs, inducing a 12.3% swinging strike rate. Still only a 1.16 whip despite the high walk rate. So just arguably getting lucky on BABIP, or just keeping the ball, the balls in play or hit toward fielders, and in doing a lot of ground balls at that launch angle. So just very, very good. And a 25.3% strikeout rate, I think we can focus on, given this team in the confirmed lineup, 27.7% strikeout rate overall for this bunch. Carlos Correa, down season for him, striking out 23% of the time, 223, 298, 387. Still has a little bit of pop in his bat, 44.1% hard hits, 9.8% barrels. He's in my plans if I'm stacking Twins, and I do think they're on the board at least for all the value pricing. There's some good hitters here. You can get away with some Twin stacks, but I'm firmly on the Merrill Kelly side of the matchup. Edward Julian, still cheap, 3,700, 3,200, 10 home runs for him, 145 WRC plus now, over 222 plate appearances. He was expected to hit. He's been outrageously good over the last 6 weeks or so, but he's a kid that was a top prospect for them organizationally and is expected to hit and continue hitting. So I like him as an option here. Second base positioning for both him and Polanco on FanDuel. You could stick one of them at util. It's not ideal to have them both at the same position, but with the util spot, it doesn't really matter. And you get Polanco at third base still on DK. 4,500 is a good price for that hitter over there. Lot of home runs from him over the past few years. Was banged up a little bit last year and early this year, but tons and tons of power upside for him. Max Kepler, very cheap for his power upside, 3,200, 2,900. Wallner, cheap, 2,400, 3,200. 6 homers in 84 plate appearances for him, 296 ISO. A lot of pop in that bat. It's very, very early. It's a very small sample, but there's obvious power there. Willie Castro can get on and steal you a base. Joey Gallo's got crazy power when he connects, but he doesn't connect all that frequently. 42.6% strikeouts, but 55.5% hard hits, 19.3% barrels. Also 12.9% walks. Still only a 290 on base. He's got to get on. That's the kind of performance that got him run out of town in New York. He's got to get on base 320-ish, 330-ish. That would be ideal. Michael A. hit his 13th unowned home run of the season last night. Another value piece from the bottom. Inconsistent, infrequent contributor, but a value piece at the bottom. Bailey Ober on the Twins staff, 8,600. Definitely a good value option on the DK slate, given all the high pricing. 10,000 on FanDuel. I'm hoping that keeps ownership away. Not an ideal matchup against the Diamondbacks. They've been striking out a little bit more this in the last couple of weeks, but overall a very, very good lineup. They have Tommy Pham hitting 5th in the reconfigured version of the lineup. So Perdomo, good option. Lack of strikeouts, 15.7% strikeouts, 13% walks. A decent hit tool, a 116 WRC plus. Ketel Marte, very good second baseman, 290, 367, 510 this year, a 220 ISO, 18 homers. He's just been really, really good over the course of the full season. 5,400, 3,300, easy to fit in at second base. Corbin Carroll's hit fewer home runs over the past couple of weeks, but still stealing bases, 334 on the season, a 134 WRC plus. Excellent numbers across the board for him. Price is down a couple $100 on DK, still high across the board though. But it is easy to offset that. When you get Carroll at 59, but you get Christian Walker at 49, arguably still the better player, that's easy to offset that price. I've talked about his power a bunch of times, 22 homers on the season, a 248 ISO from a guy who only strikes out 18.9% of the time this year, 19.6% last year, while hitting 36 home runs. An ideal power bat at first base, underpriced. Pham, Gurriel, Emmanuel Rivera, Jake McCarthy is borderline playable at the bottom, but these guys are all playable parts. I think you can grab some stacks of Diamondbacks against Ober, but he's pitching really well. 3.19 ERA, 3.32% home run rate. He's a fly ball pitcher, so it's a few mistakes on home runs, but he doesn't give up opportunities. He doesn't walk too many hitters. 4.6% walk rate, a 1.04 whip, strikes out 24.3%. Hits bumps from time to time, but he's a very good pitcher. At the underprice on DK, I like the spot a lot, and hopefully at an ownership discount on FanDuel, I can get to some shares. He won't be the top option for me on FanDuel by any means, but if the field's in the low to mid single digits and I can get out to 10-ish% and still have like twice the field, I'm happy with that. Limited interest in the Diamondbacks bat, so if I'm ranking it, it's definitely Kelly up top. Probably Kelly, Ober. Kelly, Ober, still Diamondbacks bats, but Twins really close behind that because I don't love either stack, and the Twins do have a lot of good value pricing. I think that's how I would call it. How did I do it in the article? Kelly, Ober, and then I said bats on either side as mid-level options with good value marks on the Twins. So I got that right. I like when I can reconfirm my opinion in the article that I wrote hours ago. 5:31. What do we got? 4 games left? Making okay time. Pirates and the Brewers. The Brewers lineup is in. How about those Brewers also going bananas at the plate yesterday? They've got opportunity to do that again today. Quinn Priester on the mound. I think the Pirates on the other side have an opportunity to do that to Colin Ray, though. And I like the Pirates again, unfortunately. I don't like that I've been getting a little Pirates happy lately. It's coming through the model really well. There's a lot of good value pricing. They've got Jack Suwinski carrying the home run upside. They've got a little bit of home run upside on Brian Reynolds, McCutch, Henry Davis, Cabrian Hayes back in the lineup, and then those cheap rookies at the bottom of the lineup. Burp. Excuse me. Did you guys hear that? I should have just done it right in the mic. So the bottom of the lineup with the rookies, I do think there's a lot of good value here. And they're going up against a pitcher that I've been targeting a lot this season in Colin Ray. 20.6% strikeouts for Ray over 96 and a third in 18 starts. 4.76 ERA, a 4.38 xFIP. I don't really see all that need to not go to Pirates bats. Like, they're very much on the board for me. I hope that the public doesn't go to them very much again. And eventually one of these days the spot's going to work out when it looks good and they're all so low priced and it's going to be a killer spot. This could be the opportunity for that. A lot of premium contact available from Colin Ray. A general lack of strikeouts. He puts a lot of guys on base. I think he's targetable. So Alfonso Rivas, we talked about, kind of a flawed option in the top spot here. 2,000, 2,500. I just kind of hope they go a different direction, given that I'm probably going to have some Pirates here. Let's not put that guy in the leadoff spot. Let's go a different way. Wasn't very good last year. Hasn't been very good overall. Brian Reynolds, I do like. McCutch. Sawinski's the obvious focus here. 15.7. He ranks third overall on the board for power for home run upside today on the entire slate. 3,600, 3,100, 21 home runs on the season, a 266 ISO, 18.5% barrels, 50% hard hits. Yeah, he strikes out 33% of the time. He also walks 14%, so maybe he gets himself to first base once or twice and then hits a home run or hits the home run first, whatever order it wants to come in. I just want a couple times to first base and some definite power upside. Larry C says, damn to Sawinski's home run numbers. I agree. Choi is not in the Pirates lineup. He's not on the team anymore, Jeff. He's in the Padres lineup. Henry Davis, the rookie in the middle of the lineup. They're most experienced of these very young rookies. But there's a couple premium rookies there. Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez, Liover Peguero, all premium rookies, all expected to hit for power. We'll see, because it's the Pirates. These things tend not to work out for this team. But Davis has been pretty good. 226 is a low batting average. 327 is a low on base. But a 90 WRC plus, 4 home runs, 3 stolen bases in his 153 plate appearances. And like I said yesterday, putting bat on ball well, which is really the premium thing that I care about over a kid's first 150 whatever plate appearances. 8.8% barrels, 45.1% hard hits. That's good bat on ball skill, if nothing else, for 2,900 in the outfield. Cabrian Hayes, 3,500, 2,700 at third base. Playable part. Disappointing overall, probably for his career so far, I think it's fair to say, but still a good 47.2% hard hit rate, 46.8% last year, 20% strikeouts. If you're putting bat on ball frequently and hitting it that hard, I refuse to believe that you can't be a good major league hitter. Indy, 2,500 at catcher on both sites, 1 home run on the board in 48 plate appearances. Peguero, 3 home runs and 34 plate appearances. He's been a stick of dynamite at the bottom of the lineup when he's played. 2,600 on both sides, second and short on DK, short only on FanDuel. 109 WRC plus so far in the tiny sample. Alika Williams, a lower rated prospect overall, but a very cheap option at shortstop as well. 2,100, 2,000. I watched him. He's seemed like he had a couple good plate appearances when I saw him, and seems like a good athlete if nothing else. I don't know why he doesn't rate out all that well. I haven't really looked at all of his numbers. Let's pull him up. Alika, 24 years old, right-handed hitter. 6'2", 180. Lowish strikeout rates in AAA this year. 148 plate appearances, 7 homers, 3 steals. That's a pretty good output in 148 plate appearances. 175 at AA, 5 homers, 3 steals, while with Tampa Bay's AA system. 19.4% strikeouts there, 8.6% walks. With the Pirates AAA team, 14.9% walks. Strikeouts, 10.1% walks. Better profile than how he grades out. Maybe a little bit, maybe undersold Alika Williams' talent a little bit down there. Had a 227 ISO in those AAA plate appearances this year. 126 WRC plus. 10 home runs in 380 plate appearances in high A last year in the Rays system. Didn't do much in some plate appearances at double or AAA. Only 24 and 21 respectively. So take that with a grain of salt. Not really much in 2021. But it seemed like he was kind of coming on in the minors. Maybe he's 24. Maybe that's why. That's not like crazy old for AA and AAA. But it's about the time that you want these kids to be promoted. So he's here just as he was starting to click in the minors. We'll see how he handles major league talent. Not the highest graded prospect, but maybe there's a little bit of ability there at 21,000. Very cheap. Easy to bolt into stacks. Brewer side of things. How about that Sal Frelick? 3,900, 3,000, 2 homers on his young career, 46 plate appearances, 156 WRC plus. Plays a hell of an outfield. Could be Travis says, what's happening, gang? Good luck tonight, everyone. You just getting here, Trev? We had the other Travis. Travis Duarte is in chat already, but could be Travis. So maybe this isn't Travis. Larry says, wait till Churrio's up next year for them. Churrio has been destroying the minor leagues. Oh, my God. He's so good. I got him, too, in that trade where I got Luis Robert from Lou that I've mentioned a bunch of times. Also got Churrio in that deal. Pretty good. And him as a dynasty keeper for his career. Pretty good. Still love that deal. What's going on? Could be Travis says, taking a shot every time Terry says bolt on. All right, so bolt-on's one, hit tool's one. Gotta know where the key phrases are. In honor of Paul Rubens, you could do a every time Terry says the magic word, scream real loud. Today's magic word is hit tool. Frisky is another one. Yep. Checking in live because he's gotten here late, says Travis. Going to go back and listen to the rest later on. Yeah, throw it on 2x speed. I'm sure I sound like a total lunatic on 2x speed, but you can get through it. We'll keep it rolling. 5:38. We've definitely got to get through these last couple of games here. So let's talk Brewers. If you're going to Brewers against Quinn Priester, Priester's potentially good. He's a highly regarded pitcher. He's got an elite curveball and a lot of issues with his fastball. His fastball so far in the show. He's got a 1,000 slugging percentage against this fastball with a 777 maybe 771 X slug on his 53 four-seamers that he's thrown this year so far in his 3 starts. Hasn't gone well with the fastball when he came up with questions about that fastball. So that is a little bit problematic for Quinn Priester. 17.8% strikeouts, 15.1% walks is also problematic in the tiny sample. 9.19 ERA, 5.15 xFIP. I don't know that he's here yet in terms of this projection. The Brewers, there's some strikeouts in that lineup, but only 21.3% collectively for this lineup. That does include the 13% for Sal Frelick. But, believable downside in terms of their ability to keep the ball in play. Definitely believable upside for power for some of these Brewers. So probably not going to endorse my the Quinn Priester projection here. I might throw a couple darts at it on FanDuel just for the hell of it. Probably unlikely to get to the 6 innings, although he went 5 1/3 in both of his first outings. It's really, 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 really thin. 6,200 on the DK slate. Really thin. I don't know that I want to say it. I don't know that I want to say that you can throw a dart at it. I don't know that I want to say that it's on the board. It's so dicey. I think you're just so much more likely to run into another pretty big upside game for the Brewers here. This one's just looking like bats on both sides for me. Yelich off the top of the Brewers lineup, 5,300, 3,600. Great pricing for Christian Yelich. Having a great Christian Yelich type season. 291, 374, 478, 31% better than average creating runs, 16 homers, 22 steals. Hits the ball very, very hard at 52.1% hard hits. Christian Yelich is a star. William Contreras, great spot in the batting order for a catcher, 4,900, 3,000, 11 homers, 117 WRC plus. Carlos Santana in this lineup, the former Pirate, 4,000, 3,300. Wasn't great overall this season for the Pirates. Played his way out of town, but in a better spot in a better lineup. 228, 313, 401, 13 homers, hits from both sides of the plate. Definitely power upside for him. Willy Adames, basically sell out for power. 17 home runs. 205, 290, 386 has no appeal, and 83 WRC plus is bad for, especially as your cleanup hitter. You don't necessarily like that, but he does hit for a lot of pop when he connects. 13% barrels, 17 homers, and 430 plate appearances. There's upside there at shortstop. For 5,000 is a little pricey, actually, on DK. 3,000 on FanDuel. That's arguably the same price, relatively. But Adames is in play, but flawed. Let's put it that way. Definitely in play in stacks of Brewers. Frelick's been really good in his 46 plate appearances. Mark Canha's a playable veteran part. 3 multi-position guys down on the bottom of the lineup on FanDuel. No multi-position eligibility today in this lineup on DK. That kind of sucks. Brian Anderson. Bryce Turang had a good game yesterday. Up to 5 homers, 12 stolen bases. Still only 69 WRC plus. Joey Wiemer's a little bit better. 13 homers, 11 steals, 87 WRC plus. A little bit more consistent playing time. 2,500, 2,600. If I'm choosing between these guys at the bottom, I would go from Canha down. I like Joey Wiemer. Just use him as a wraparound play. But he's inconsistent. He's not the most reliable. That's why he costs 25, 26 though. So definitely playable stacks on both sides in this one. Just given the run totals, the pitching matchup against Priester, I have to put the Brewers on top, but I actually do like the spot for the value card Pirates quite a bit here. And really not that much interest in pitchers. Gun to my head, I would go with the projection and just say Priester, maybe he finds his strikeout form and finds a few for you. I just don't really like Colin Ray. Don't really trust Colin Ray at all on the mound. Has had the better results, I guess, in a longer sample, but not by all that much. Like, I think Priester would probably at worst even out to about Colin Ray level performance if we gave him this full 96 innings. So lousy pitching on both sides of that one. This game might as well take place at Coors Field. Chris Flexen on the bump, Adam Wainwright on the bump. I have zero interest in either one of these pitchers. Waino doesn't crack 18 in my FanDuel model. Flexen doesn't crack 12. I see no real reason to go to these pitchers. 15.1% strikeout rate for Flexen, 11.4% walk rate, and 45 2/3, 8.08 ERA, 5.52 xFIP. Was like a league average-ish pitcher in the Korean League. Maybe he would do better there. Actually, a little bit better than that in the KBO, but not really a high-end major league caliber option. Not going up against the Cardinals lineup that, despite their bumps that they've hit all season long, I do still like the talent in the Cardinals lineup. Just don't love throwing pitchers at them, especially not bad pitchers. So no interest in Chris Flexen. Adam Wainwright should have retired. 11.3% strikeouts, 5.69 xFIP. Just makes me sad. 11.2% barrels, 4% home runs. Just tarnishing his career stat line at this point. Kind of thought they were going to send him off into the sunset when he went to that IL trip, but he came back 6,000, 6,300. If you're a believer, there are worse spots to do it in, I'll say that much, than against the Rockies. What did he do in his outing since he came back? I don't remember him being good. Maybe I missed one. Was he good? 6 innings against the Cubbies on the 29th. 4 runs on 7 hits, 3 walks, 3 Ks, 2 home runs allowed. That's not good. 5 innings against the Diamondbacks on the 24th. 2 earned runs. That's okay. 4 hits, 3 Ks, 2 walks. That's not that good. Yeah, I can't really, even with the Rockies in town, it's a little difficult to justify the spot for Adam Wainwright, even at price. The Rockies carrying a 4.47 run implied total, which is probably one of the higher marks they've had on the road all season. They're a really bad ball club. Jurickson Profar, just 419 wasted plate appearances at the top of their lineup. Ezequiel Tovar is at least a growing, developing kid, so it's fine to give him plate appearances here. 394 opportunities, only 73 WRC plus, 10 home runs, 5 steals, 255, 290, 413. Need to see more out of him. 27% strikeouts, doesn't really walk. Hasn't been a good option for DFS purposes, but a good spot in the lineup ahead of their power. Ryan McMahon, 4,400, 3,300, definitely capable of hitting a home run off this version of Adam Wainwright. 18 on the season with a 216 ISO, 6.26 in the home run model. Okay mark in the home run model. Brendan Rodgers, back in the lineup, has made 13 plate appearances this season. Had a handful of home runs, 13 home runs in 581 last year, 15 in 415 the year before. Was once a premium prospect, is now just kind of on the board as a guy on this team. Nolan Jones, 4,200, 3,000. Excellent left-handed power prospect. 9 home runs in 194 plate appearances, 205 ISO. Their best left-handed power bat not named Ryan McMahon. Elias Diaz, capable catcher. Eleuders Montero, Michael Toglia. We've talked about their power upside from the bottom of the lineup. These are two of my favorite hitters if I'm going to Rockies. This is a third, this one, and then take your pick of everybody else. It's probably Brendan Rodgers, honestly. It's probably these two guys, and then, these 3 guys, and these 2 guys. And then if you're on DK, you could put Elias Diaz in there instead of Rodgers. So on DK, it would be these guys. Everybody else is like a bolt-on part. Brenton Doyle finds you occasional counting stats, but he's been really bad at the bottom of the lineup. 47 WRC plus for him. 7 homers and 14 steals is great, but he's had those for a while now. It's really infrequent output. He's cheap. He's going up against the soft-tossing 11.3% strikeout version of Adam Wainwright, so maybe you get there. But the highlighted guys here are the core of actually talented or hopefully talented hitters. These guys hit for a ton of power last year across the minors and cups of coffee in the show. They're expected to hit for a decent amount of power. 3 home runs in 134 this year for Montero, 2 in 77 for Toglia. Hasn't been great yet, but I do think there's power lurking down there. 547. Let's pick up the pace. Cardinals lineup. Throw Cardinals bats at Chris Flexen. It's the typical version of the lineup now that Brendan Donovan's out. You've got Lars Nootbaar leading off. I love that spot for him. 4,400, 3,500. He's too cheap. 275, 376, 439. 27% better than average creating runs. 11 homers, 7 steals. It's so weird that this team is not that good, given all this positive run creation, bunch of good home run hitters. It's just a weird year for the Cards. Paul Goldschmidt, if I was, I can say it because I'm a Yankees fan. I kind of would rather have the Cardinals lineup. Like in a go-forward sense, I feel like next year they could come roaring back with very few changes, whereas my Yankees, I think, need a major facelift during the offseason here. Hopefully Rizzo, you get back from like his stupid concussion that they somehow didn't realize they had. How many times did I say Rizzo was playing hurt, by the way, over the last few weeks? I didn't know he had a concussion, but we've talked about that so many times. Anyway, Goldschmidt, Gorman, Arenado, that's a great core for power. 57, 41, 54 on DK, 37, 35, 34 on FanDuel. Cheap. String them through the infield. I love that. First base, second base, third base on DK. Just grab those power bats. Very, very cheap against Chris Flexen here. Major upside for that group. Wilson Contreras bolts into that group just as well. Good catcher option, 11 home runs. Decent amount of power, 14% better than average creating runs. 11.5% barrels, 47% hard hits. Tyler O'Neill lurking late in the lineup with all his power. Good premium contact marks for O'Neill. Only 148 plate appearances, 4 homers, a 149 ISO. But this is intact. This is where you want to see his premium contact numbers. Only 3,500, very cheap for his power. Jordan Walker's been really good for 2,800, 2,900. That's a great buy late in the lineup. 10 homers and 268 plate appearances. Good triple slash, good run creation. Tommy Edmonds better than he's been this season. 7 homers, 14 steals, only 87 WRC plus. Limited by only 318 plate appearances. But we've seen Tommy Edmonds perform time and time again from the bottom of the lineup, from the top of the lineup. He's a good, capable bat. Very cheap, multi-position eligible. Alec Burleson, multi-position. Very cheap also. 8 home runs, a 176 ISO, and 242. Not completely inept with the bat in his hands. A lot of enthusiasm about the Cards bats. Mildly enthused about the Rockies bats. It's the best we can do for the Rockies. It is a very good spot for Rockies bats going up against Waino here. 0 interest in pitching. 2 games to go and a lot of pitching to talk about still. Reed Detmers. We talked about it at the top of the show. Hopefully everybody's still here for it. 8,200 is a great price for him on the DK slate. 9,000 is a good price for him on the FanDuel slate. He's striking out 29.3% of opposing hitters this season. 4.35 ERA, a 3.84 xFIP. Has been very good. He's giving up a little bit of premium contact in terms of a 90.2 mile an hour exit velo, 41.8% hard hits, but it's only 5.4% barrels. It's only amounted to a 2.76% home run rate. There's a lot of launch angle involved. He pitches to a fly ball profile. So if he makes mistakes, they tend to be loud mistakes, but he really hasn't made that many of them this year. His strikeout rate is stellar. His walk rate's a little high, but good swinging strike, good CSW. I can't really figure out why he's not projecting all that well. It's a full innings projection. Just one of those spots where it's just not coming through the model all that well. And I didn't want to say like, all right, let's give him a 7.5 inning projection so that I can get him to look like he projects well here. I don't like doing stuff like that because it just skews everything. And it's just like, all right, if now I'm telling the model what he should look like rather than the model telling me what he looks like, we're doing things wrong. And that's not what I want to do for you guys. So I'm just showing it how the model looks like. It would not surprise me at all if Reed Detmers comes out and has a very, very good start here. 27.3% strikeout rate for this projected version of the Mariners lineup. It's still not confirmed, but we do have... the Angels got Brandon Drury back. Forgot about him. That's an upgrade to their lineup. So with the support of a good lineup in place as well, and support for a win equity for Reed Detmers here, although they're going up against Luis Castillo, who we'll talk about in a second. I just do think that there is a ton of strikeout upside for Reed Detmers here. There's a lot of power, a lot of righty power that he's going to have to avoid. Maybe some of that's impacting him in the model here. Julio Rodriguez, Eugenio Suarez, Teoscar Hernandez, Cal Raleigh, Tommy Murphy, Ty France even you could throw into that mix despite a downturn this year. A lot of good power, a lot of good... a lot of swing and miss, but a lot of good bat on ball skills. Like this is a pretty sturdy group of double-digit barrels, double-digit hard hit rates, despite all the strikeouts. Cheap pricing, so I do think you can hedge off some positions of Reed Detmers if you get a lot of Detmers. If he's projecting well on other sites, like I imagine he probably is, I would probably hedge off some of that, given how the Mariners look in, or at least how they're limiting him in this model, and how they can potentially provide some righty pop. Probably a situation where even if they limit him, though, and keep his performance down, probably a situation where they don't really go off that much. I think there's just too many holes in that lineup, too many strikeouts available for him. Luis Castillo, 10-2, 10-7. Good, not great projection. He ranked, I think, 5th overall on the board, 5th or 6th. Going up against a tough Angels lineup. Still no Mike Trout, but you've got Ohtani, you've got CJ Cron, Mike Moustakas, Brandon Drury back in the lineup, Mickey Moniak hit really, really well. Hunter Renfroe and all his power. This lineup's gotten so deep all of a sudden that now Randall Grichuk is their 9 hitter. That's a great spot to find a hitter like Randall Grichuk. 4,000, 3,100, slashing 306, 362, 494 for the season, a 117 WRC plus, 9 home runs. It's a very good bat to have hitting 9th. Matt Thaiss has some power at catcher for a very cheap price. Renfroe, tons and tons of home runs over the last 3 seasons. Has been stuck at 17, was stuck at 15 for a while, got to 17, has been stuck there for a little while, but major power on any given slate. Moniak for 5,100, 3,300 is hitting 311, 342, 555 with a 244 ISO, 11 home runs in his managed 219 plate appearances. They've been putting him in the right spots. They've been teeing him up to succeed, and he's been succeeding when they've done it. Drury's multi-position eligible for great pricing on both sites. 14 home runs and only 307 plate appearances this season. A very good right-handed power bat. Moustakas has pulled his life together a little bit. 2,900, 2,700. He's cheap. He's slashing 267, 335, 439, 102 WRC plus in 248 pretty unexpected plate appearances. Luis Rengifo miscast in the leadoff role, but does have pop. He's a playable part up there. 2,800 on FanDuel. Obviously a good buy. And then there's this Shohei Ohtani guy. Pretty sure he's good. 40 home runs on the season. Came out of the game as a pitcher last night due to hand cramping after 4 innings. Still a monster. Hit his 40th home run of the season. I think he hit the home run after he came out as a pitcher. I'm not totally sure. I think he stole another base last night. 14 stolen bases. Currently runs 90% better than average over almost 500 plate appearances. Bananas how good he is. Running away with the AL MVP. So this one was yes to both pitchers. I'm going to temper my expectations. I'll go along with what the model says about Reed Detmers, but particularly on DK, I think you do want to have Reed Detmer shares here, probably a little bit more than the projection here might suggest. Definitely want to get to some Mariner stacks, particularly as a hedge to any Detmer's position I get to, though. I do think there's believable upside for them. A lot of strikeouts in the lineup, though. And then I'll take some Angels hedge positions against what should probably be a pretty healthy share of Luis Castillo. So this is another four corners game for me. I like all four sides of it. I would say Castillo, Angels bats. Castillo, Detmers. Let's give him his fair due for how good he's been this year. Castillo, Detmers, and then bats on both sides kind of tied, but the Angels have the better of the two lineups. Tougher matchup probably against Castillo still. 28.3% strikeouts, 2.880 ERA, 3.60 xFIP, 1.01 whip, 15.4% swinging strikes. I know he's had some issues, some bumps in the road with home runs. There's plenty of home run upside here. Maybe he gets dinged for one or two home runs. Doesn't have the greatest start in the world for the price. That's really your downside with Castillo. And that's kind of how he projects. There's a few points shaved off of him as compared to the top spots on the board. We got to wrap this thing up. Bobby Miller, Yu Darvish. Couple more playable parts on the pitching slate. They both project in similar range to like where Castillo was. Bobby Miller going up against the Pods. He's obviously going to get himself through this top end twice. It's probably only going to be 2 trips through the lineup, given how good that top end is. I don't think if they're in the sixth inning and about to face Ha-Seong Kim, Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, they probably don't run the rookie back out there for the sixth. So maybe it's a little short started. But 7,500 is the right price for value on DK. 87, maybe a bigger stretch on FanDuel. He could get there. He could book you the quality start. 59 and 2/3, 23.8% strikeouts, only allowing a 2.42% home run rate, 4.37 ERA, 3.88 xFIP. Not the best option on the board by any means, but projects okay enough that I think he's in play. Yu Darvish, 8,300, 9,800, projects okay. Going up against the Dodgers. 25.9% strikeouts, 4.53 ERA, 3.82 xFIP. Looks a lot like kind of Bobby Miller on the other side in terms of the runs allowed. 3.33% home run rate, 38.5% hard hits, 6.9% barrels. Still is Yu Darvish on the right day. 8,300 on DK. I think this is the right price. 98 is kind of expensive on the FanDuel slate on an expensive day for pitching. I think he's in the mix. But as we've said many times, I don't love tangling with the Dodgers. So I don't know that I want to pay that price to tangle with them too many times. But I do think out of all the pitchers we've talked about against the Dodgers this week, Darvish is probably the best one we've talked about. So if you're going to do it, this is probably the spot to do it. They're not completely elite. They are completely elite, but they're not completely ungettable. They've only got a 3.86 run implied total in Vegas today. So maybe that also provides a little opportunity to stack Dodgers at lower ownership than they should be in kind of a bad spot going up against Darvish. But we've got superstar quality in Mookie, Freddie, Will Smith off the top. If Max Muncy plays, he's day-to-day. But if he plays 5,000, 4,000, tons and tons of power from Muncy. Outman, Hayward, and Peralta, the good left-handed outfielders that are all just like mix and match parts with one another. All very cheap, all good lefty pop. Peralta's got the best hit tool in the bunch. Drink. Ahmed Rosario down the bottom of the lineup, 4,200 at shortstop and second base on DK. Plenty of value there. He's underperformed this season overall, but does have a 269 average, does limit strikeouts at 18.1%, so he fits in well with the team theme. And I think he's got an opportunity to have the pressure release, have a little bit more upside for home runs, maybe focus on what he does well at the plate in this lineup. So I like the opportunity for Ahmed Rosario overall, and I like the spot in that lineup here, hitting down lineup rather than when they stick him in like the cleanup role. So I think he's an interesting part, depending on where he plays, though. The Padres side, it's really the top 5. And then you're mixing and matching your way through. I don't think we're breaking any new ground there. Ha-Seong Kim's been elite this season. 15 home runs, 22 stolen bases, a 134 WRC plus. 3 positions still on FanDuel, 2 on DK. The price is still right. Tatis is a star. Soto's a star. Machado's a star. Bogarts is a star who's underpriced and underperforming on the season. 266, 344, 396 for Bogey. 11 homers, 12 steals. Still a 108 WRC plus. The rumors of his demise are exaggerated. He's just kind of discounted for the underperformance, but still very good at shortstop. Machado, 20 home runs on the season, 203 ISO. Soto, 23 homers, 250 ISO, and a 160 WRC plus to lead the team. He's outrageously good. Tatis is a superstar for power and speed. Then down the bottom of the lineup, Gary Sanchez, 2 more home runs the other day, 14 on the season, a 277 ISO in his 194 plate appearances. Strikes out, barrels the ball. That's Gary Sanchez. When he makes contact, the ball travels. Trent Grisham's been sneakily good at the bottom of the lineup for counting stats for a little bit of run creation. 101 WRC plus, 11 homers, 11 steals. Very low end in terms of the triple slash, but an okay barrel rate. 13% barrels for 2,900, 2,800. If you're building a bunch of Padres stacks, I wouldn't have 0 Trent Grisham. Campusano's an option. Jay Cronenworth's a bolt-on kind of a part in the middle of the lineup. He's always very cheap. He's not ever that popular. Plays multiple positions, but disappointing season for Cronenworth overall. 443 plate appearances, only 8 homers, 89 WRC plus. Was just better last year. 110 WRC plus, 17 homers. So this one was pitching on both sides. A little bit of Yu Darvish, a little bit of Bobby Miller. Not my favorite options for either one of them. And then definitely some Dodgers and some Padres. So kind of a 4 corners game. A little bit lower end across the board on all of those options, though. Like, I'm not all that enthused. They project well, the Dodgers against Yu Darvish, and the Padres going the other way against Bobby Miller. But I don't know that, given how they're priced, these become my favorite stacks overall on the day. They're definitely going to be in the mix, though. There's a lot of good value spots. There's a lot of other spots that rate out well for power. Pods do rate out well for power in the average because these 3 guys are all over the 10 mark on a day that's a little bit short overall for power. And plus Gary Sanchez hiding down here. Let's take a look at the home run board real quick. And I mean real quick because it's 6:02. I should have started at 4 today. I had the time. Kyle Schwarber, top of the board. Lubob, Sawinski. Love the spot for the Pirates and Sawinski to be a little bit sneaky maybe today. We talked about that ridiculous top end for the Mets in terms of the power that they've got in the top 4 now in this configuration with Alvarez hitting second, Lindor's down here hitting third. Ton of power through the top 4 for the Mets. Alvarez, home run pick of the day for the Astros in Yankee Stadium. Great spot against Severino. He might hit 2 or 3. That would be ridiculous, but I think he's got a good shot at hitting 1. Let's put it that way. Solero over the magic number in Miami, in a spot where we're targeting all 4 corners of that game. Corbin Carroll on the board for a little bit of power. He's had a dip in power recently. Ignore Eloy Jimenez. He's not playing. Christian Walker also on the board from that Arizona lineup. Interesting spot there, maybe. Tatis, Corey Seager. A couple of good shortstops on the board. So it's not a total lack of power. High peak, okay mid-range. So some pop available today. Real quick last look at the pitching board, and then we're out of here. Merrill Kelly with a bullet up at the top. Love the spot going up against the Twins. Tons of strikeouts available for a good pitcher. Aaron Nola at a discount. Love the spot for Aaron Nola going up against KC there. He's just too cheap for his talent, for who he's been over the course of his career. Hunter Brown, I do like against the Yankees. It's looking a little bit darker out, clouds and weather-wise, than it was when we started the show an hour and 50 minutes ago. So Hunter Brown, the only thing that would handicap him here against the Yanks and that bad version of the Yankees lineup is the weather, but I think we're probably okay. It seemed like it was still going to miss the stadium. Jordan Montgomery against those Marlins. They're excellent against right-handed pitching. It's not the safest spot in the world, but I believe in the talent, especially for the price on DK. I like Montgomery a lot. I like Allen a lot. Probably my favorite value pitcher on both sites at 8,800, 7,900. That's just the pricing we're dealing with today. Really like the spot for Logan Allen, especially with no Eloy Jimenez in that lineup. Castillo and Darvish, 2 very high-end ace caliber pitchers. Wouldn't surprise me in any way to see either one of them at the top of the board at the end of the night. Darvish has the tougher matchup against the Dodgers, but Castillo not in a pushover matchup against the Angels. Bailey Ober, kind of a tough spot. We just saw a little bit of power flashing against him in that Arizona lineup. They're good at avoiding strikeouts, but he's talented. I believe in this projection. 10,000 is not a great price for him on the FanDuel slate. 8,600 is very good for him on the DK slate. So maybe more of a DK option, maybe more of a low ownership option, hopefully on FanDuel. Bobby Miller's in play for value against the Padres, but it's obviously a tough matchup. Luzardo against the Rangers is in some danger here, but another pitcher where, like, despite the mid-board projection, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Jesus Luzardo lead this slate, put up a 10 strikeout shutout over 6 or 7 innings. He's got that level of talent. He's an elite level talent. Got to get him on the right day. Got to get the Rangers on the wrong day. It's a great lineup going against him, but definitely a playable guy, even with a high price and a lower than these guys' projection. Quinn Priester hasn't been good yet. I do believe there's talent there. If he gets the right day with his curveball against these Brewers, maybe he pays off the cheap prices. Obviously projects okay. David Peterson, I don't think has the innings to support this projection. Paxton, possibly projected a little bit low, but also possibly a little bit overpriced in a bad spot. Joe Musgrove, diagnosed with shoulder inflammation, shut down for 3 weeks. Bad news for the Padres. Dean Kramer, cheap enough to play. Not a great spot. I don't love that matchup against that high-end Mets lineup. And then Reed Detmers just hiding down here, given how he projects. I think he's better than this projection. I think that spot is better than this projection. But we saw it with like that weird Jake Irvin spot. Sometimes the model knows something that we don't. So that's where I'm going with this one. I will have Reed Detmers. I believe in him a little bit more than where he looks like he projects here. And the price is definitely right. Everybody else, Clevy, Colin Ray, Waino, Lyles, Manoah, Flexen. Nah, not really. Not for me. That's about it, guys. That is a lot of talking. Travis Drake, let's fucking go, says Bo DJ Stoner. Now, I think through that last run through those last few games, we just put Travis under the bar on that one. He's just passed out. They're dragging him out of that bar now. All right, guys. Let me jump out of here. Lone Wolf asks, one lineup. Who am I stacking? Probably the Houston Astros up against Luis Severino. Astros ranked 5th on the board for power, 1st on the board by projections, 2nd by FanDuel value. They're more expensive and more difficult to get to on DK, but I really like that spot in Yankee Stadium with Alvarez and Tucker in that lineup. That's probably my go-to team. I think the Phillies look really good against Jordan Lyles there. You can also refer to the stack board. Some changes in it and some weird rankings like I talked about. With where some of these teams fall, like the Dodgers against Darvish do have a 2nd ranked projection just on the back of like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Like there's no way to deny those guys projection value even against the Darvish. So you got to parse through that stacks board a little bit, but total vacuum, I just love that Houston spot. They're going to destroy my Yankees tonight. All right, boys and girls. Thanks, Terry. Can we get your SP2 before you leave? Didn't we just do that? Logan Allen. Logan Allen, for me, is the guy I have the most faith in. And I think just given the way these things price, that's a value price given how expensive all these parts are. If it had to be somebody from the extreme value tier, these green guys, I guess I'll go with the model and say Quinn Priester, but it's really dicey given the lack of upside on his fastball. Travis Duarte, I agree. Kelly is the guy today. I love that spot. Projects great. Love the spot. 8,800 too. Very cheap priced on DK. So like Kelly for 8,800, there's more upside there if you wanted to just say that that's your value guy. Kelly Aaron Nola all day. Kelly Hunter Brown. I think you can get away with a Kelly Hunter Brown pairing. You can get away with a Kelly Logan Allen pairing. Just go to some of those combos on DK, right? Maybe you forgo some Luis Castillo. Maybe you forgo some Luzardo, some Paxton, and just focus on these 8s. All right, guys, 6:10. I do have to punch out and actually go build some lineups or I'm just going to miss this slate entirely. Let me check out of here. Good luck tonight. It's been a blast hanging out. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. You guys make this show. If nobody was watching, there would be no show. So it's all about you guys. Hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe if you're not if you're not subscribed already. Jump into the Discord if you're not in there. Everything's free. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye.